Hi, I didn't see you there. It's Aston with MOTO2N. Today I am the scooter guy. I'm working on a genuine buddy. It needs a new rear wheel and tire. That's the easiest way to do it today. I have a parts bike out back that has a perfectly good wheel and tire, and her tire is completely shot. So the most cost-effective thing to do here is I am going to trade her my good tire and wheel for her bad tire and wheel, and I'm just going to do a straight swap. So I'll show you how to remove the exhaust on a genuine buddy, how to remove the rear wheel on a genuine buddy, how to replace it. I'll take you through the entire thing start to finish. So follow along with me, and let's see what happens.
This is going to go fast because I have the video sped up. There are two 12mm bolts. You can see I just popped the bottom one and the top one, and then there is a hose for this air canister, air recirculation thing, that plastic thing that's bolted to the exhaust. You have to remove that hose. And then I'm going to pop the header bolts. That is two 10mm bolts. They're actually nuts that are attached to studs, so I should use the right word and call them nuts. So pop the header nuts. You can hear the engine got a little bit louder. I'm going to go ahead and shut it down because there's no need to have it running. The rear fender is also clipped to the exhaust, so you have to pop that off of its little rubber grommet. After that, it's a good idea to remove the bottom 12mm bolt first, and then you can go ahead and remove the two header nuts from the front of the exhaust. And then the very last step is to support the exhaust with your hands and remove that top 12mm bolt, and then the exhaust will fall right on the ground. Once the exhaust is removed, you're going to need a 24mm socket with a big breaker bar or ratchet. Good idea to use 1/2-inch drive. That's probably the only drive you're going to find a 24mm socket in. And then the idea is to grab the rear brake, rock the scooter backwards, and then stomp on the breaker bar using your left foot. And as long as it's not in there too tight, you should be able to remove it using that procedure. Once the nut is off, you'll have to work the wheel up underneath the fender. You'll just have to wiggle it, wobble it, get it positioned perfectly until the splines on the output shaft for the transmission, until that slides onto the wheel, or until the wheel slides onto the shaft. Once the wheel slides onto the shaft, you can go ahead and tighten up that nut. It takes between 50 and 70 foot-pounds of torque, which is about as good as I can get using this breaker bar and a reasonable amount of force. It looks like something like that. That's probably 50 foot-pounds. I'm not exactly guessing here either. It's the size of that ratchet. It's pretty easy to get 50 foot-pounds on a fastener. There's no need to use a torque wrench on these as long as you have a little bit of experience. If you have no experience and you've never used a torque wrench, go ahead and practice on this. It's a good thing to practice on. And then there are two bolts that hold the exhaust on. There's a long one and a short one. The short one goes on top, and I always hang the exhaust by the top bolt first. That's a good tip for reattaching exhausts, is just hang it by the top bolt, leave it loose, and then go over and attach the header nuts to the front of the exhaust. And then once you have it positioned, you can go ahead and put the bottom bolt for the exhaust back in, but leave them all loose for now because you're going to tighten up the header bolts first, and then you're going to tighten up the bracket bolts, those two 12mm bolts. Those are going to get tightened up second or last. It goes without saying, or it should be obvious, that if the scooter has been running for any length of time before you remove the exhaust, then the exhaust is going to be hot. You will want to protect your hands using something like gloves or a heat barrier, or you saw earlier in the video I just used the long end of my sweater sleeve. That was enough to keep the heat off of my hands. That, and I only had the scooter running for about 5 minutes, so the exhaust didn't have time to get super heat soaked, so it wasn't that hot to begin with. This sort of work is about as simple as it gets, so if you're looking for a fun first project to do, replacing the exhaust on your scooter, that's a fun first project. There are issues that you can run into involving missing, stripped, or broken fasteners. I'm not going to get into how you address those, but they are common mechanical problems that you do have to learn how to overcome in order to become a mechanic. A good amateur or pro knows how to deal with all of those problems. So the very last step here is to Put some air in the tires. I always air scooter tires up to 30 psi front and rear. I found that's just a good number. With the tires aired up and a fresh tire installed, fresh wheel installed, the scooter is good to go, so I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to the customer. Thanks so much for watching, y'all. Go ahead and like and subscribe, or don't. Thank you so much. Bye!